Good afternoon to everyone present here today. My name is Arjun Mahesh Guru, and I'm one of the student coordinators of the Center for Criminology and Efficiency here at National Law University. I warmly welcome all of you today. Today's session titled "The Art of Teaching Restorative Justice in University Settings: Lessons from a Canadian University." This event today is being jointly organized by the Center for Criminology and Efficiency at NLU Delhi in association with the Council for Secure Justice. Joining us today with us, we have Professor Dr. J.S. Bachwal, the Vice Chancellor of NLU Delhi and Chairperson of the Center for Criminology and Decolonizing at NLU. We have our guest speaker today, Dr. Mohammed Asadullah, Assistant Professor at the University of Virginia. Dr. Asadullah is a 2022 President's Teaching Scholar at the University of Virginia in Canada. The university recognizes individuals as President's Teaching Scholars who demonstrate a strong commitment to teaching and learning in their practice, as well as their willingness to promote teaching and learning excellence in their faculties and departments and across the institution. Prior to joining the University of Virginia as an assistant professor, Dr. Asadullah taught at Simon Fraser University, the University of the Fraser Valley, and Conference Polytechnic University. His research interests include restorative justice, decolonized teaching, and youth justice. He is the recipient of multiple awards and scholarships, including the Nika Niwa Indigenous Leadership Award, the Contemplative Social Justice Scholar Award, the Liz Elliott Memorial Graduate Scholarship, and the Law Foundation Scholarship in Restorative Justice. We welcome you, sir, to NLU Delhi, and look forward to hearing from you today. I'd like to hand over the floor to Dr. Asadullah. Sir, you may please take it.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for all the participants. And I'm so delighted that it's the kind of post lunch time, and I don't know if you have lunch and tea or coffee. You still have some interest and passion for this topic. I am also deeply grateful to Dr. and students and also my wonderful colleagues from Constitution and their colleagues who are trying to facilitate this process, and grateful to Professor Amdik as well for facilitating this lecture today. And the art of teaching that area, and I'll be kind of moving in between. Don't bother your camera, whoever. So that is live camera. So if I'm moving there, it should be fine. Okay. Because sometimes I move around when I teach. Usually, whenever there is a camera, sometimes it disrupts those motions. I hope you will be fine. Okay. And as you see, my presentation I will share in a few seconds what will be the goal for the next maybe 45 to 50 minutes, and then we will do some Q&A, and then some discussions after that. So land acknowledgement as a part of when I settled in Canada in 2012, I became kind of aware about what we call the history of colonization in Canada. In Canadian universities across from East Coast to the West Coast in all those areas, we have a practice what we call land acknowledgement, where we acknowledge the traditions and contributions of our indigenous sisters and brothers in those communities. So myself is from, I was talking to Professor Bachwal, I came from a middle Canada, which is, Atlantic Ocean. So there is one province called Nova Scotia, and then the Pacific Ocean. We have a province called British Columbia. We harbor Vancouver, right? So Vancouver is in the Pacific Ocean, and then Halifax is in the Atlantic, and Saskatchewan is in the middle from that particular part. And one of the reasons why Saskatchewan is very famous is because it's a very cold weather. And in February we had -51, and we survived. I had one student. She was mentioning that she experienced and survived -61 in one of the areas. It's called Yukon, which is very cold. And also, this particular province is very famous for wheat, so we produce also wheat, almost 60 to 70% globally. Potash, the major specific items that the system is growing. We have lots of agricultural land in all of those things. So it's a huge province with a very less number of population, very cold as well. So that particular, I'm from Regina, which is the capital of Saskatchewan. So city is called Regina, which is kind of that's a kind of legal name. So that's Regina, and that's the name of the city that I'm from. That city is called Treaty 4. So each city or each area in Canada they have a treaty with indigenous communities. So whenever we share any presentation, we acknowledge those treaties. So I'm from Treaty 4, which is in Saskatchewan, Virginia, and I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to those elders and also those who protect the land that has been there for centuries. And my ancestors are from Bangladesh, which is neighboring country of India. My father and my grandfather, my mother, all of them had that. I see the world, my justice lands came from them. They were very social justice oriented. They were active in different social justice issues, so that they had impact the way I see the world. And that's a part of our acknowledgement, their contribution, both in India, so both in Bangladesh and next, this is more planning for today. So I will do a brief opening circle, I will share what is opening circle, and then there will be some discussion on art of teaching. What is art of teaching? There will be some discussion. I teach restorative justice, I teach criminal theory, I teach conflict resolution, I teach also decolonizing justice, that's an area. I also teach, we have like introduction to justice studies where I will teach about four crime and interaction, there are three components. I'll discuss some of the then I will have specific focus on that. How do you, that there are a lot of discussion in the area of decolonizing teaching. How do you make classrooms more egalitarian? How do you make classrooms more engaging, more inclusive, more less hierarchical, less kind of master servant dynamic? It's more collegial, circular, more kind of non-hierarchical structure. So I'll share some of my thoughts. And then there is a specific way I apply those into my teaching restorative justice. And then hopefully there will be a big closing circle of how, and this is not a circle, so I will try to make sure that we do some engagements in this structured environment. Usually when I teach in a, my students, they sit in a circle, like they're all sitting in a circle. And I have, if I teach fourth year, third year, I have, before they have about 20 students in the third year, I have around 30 students, I make them start on. This first year class is almost possible, but I will do some engagements as they go. And so one small activity that I would like to begin, and then so it's called setting the intention. So I am sure you know that I will come here. Urvashi was from, she had one specific intention why he was here. Professor Vajpayee, he has his own interest and intention why he's here. And Arjun, right? So Arjun may have his own interest why he's here. And Professor, what's her name? Iqbal, Professor Iqbal is here. Maybe he has his own interest. And what's her name over there? Trishan? Yeah. Trishan is here. So you may have different intention. And many of you may have, like for example, had one intention last night, and then suddenly you didn't have good sleep, you didn't have good breakfast, you're grumpy. For example, if I didn't have coffee in the morning, I'm so grumpy. You're not fully you, because if you have some coffee and coffee, you're fully grounded. So you may have multiple intentions. So the way I do is, you can close your eyes, you can keep your eyes on the floor, or maybe you can keep your eyes somewhere, or maybe you can keep your eyes in a direction. But just think for 30 seconds. You may have different intention, but now you are a little bit about me, have some understanding about my topic. What will be your intention for the next 40 minutes? It can be you want to hear more about the topic. It can be you want to have more curiosity about our field. Maybe you have more interest on the way I engage with you. Like maybe something how I facilitate kind of discussions in the class. So whatever intention you would like to have. So just 30 seconds of silence, and all you do is think and see what will be your intention for the next 45 minutes. Are we clear? Just 30 seconds of silence. You can keep your eye, you can close your eyes, or keep your eyes on the floor, whatever is good for you. And I will ask how or what is your intention. Let's begin. Try to see if you can summarize your intention in a word. So if you can summarize your intention in a word, what will be that word? Welcome back. Any words you have here? Like what words you have in your mind? That structure. What's the name? Akansha. New things. Okay, new things in the back over there. Just one word. Decolonization. Okay. Over there.
Exploring the
Restorative justice. Over there. Restorative justice. Okay. Parvati.
learning exploration, because gaining topics.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
What I have
Awesome. Anybody would like to share your intention? Share. You already shared. Do you want to share? Or Robert? Okay. Okay. Then how do we handle academic resources? Okay. Professor, any?
Yeah, I was thinking how restorative justice is performed in India.
That's also very good. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your intention. So before I share, because restorative justice is a discipline, and I will share briefly how I came as a I'm from originally from Bangladesh, and we all have nicknames. So my nickname is Asad, even though my full name is Muhammad Asadullah. So this is my own journey. So this is Pushpi. Pushpi is from Sri Lanka. I met her when I was doing my graduate studies in the US, and we were in the same school. And Pushpi was doing an assignment. So she, as a part of her assignment, she was talking to students who have no idea about restorative justice. So she was just talking to people randomly, students, and asking them what do you know about restorative justice. And my answer was I had no idea because I started this particular class. And my focus in that particular time was peace building, strategic peace building. It's not about restorative justice because it was a different concentration. Then she explained that this is what restorative justice is, and that was a really a major hook for me. The way she explained this is what restorative justice. It talks about crime differently. The way you and I define crime. If we ask Parvati how do you define crime, we will say crime is a violation of penal code. And in the restorative justice, the way they define crime, they see crime as a violation of relationships. To restore crime, if you just only arrest me as a criminal, you are not restoring relationships. Then if it doesn't help to restore relationships, then how do you solve this entire crime problem? That really got me lots of curiosity. And then what she suggested that Asad could take some courses with Howard Zeher. That Howard Zeher is known as kind of grandfather of or father of restorative justice. I had no idea. And then I happened to be in the same university where Howard Zeher was teaching. So I was very fortunate to study with Howard Zeher. I took one class with him just to audit how and what is the topic, because when I started taking this class, I only had just 3 or 4 credits left for the master's degree, not credit. And I audited on this class and I was so hooked. And I took all these classes just as audit because I had enough credits. And obviously I ended up doing my master's with him, and then I ended up doing more work with him. And then he suggested me, when I finished my master's, I was curious to do my PhD, and then he suggested me that I started to do PhD, you can go to Canada, because At that time, the university that I was studying, they didn't have a PhD program. So I went to Canada, and then Liz Elliott is kind of grandmother of this sort of person. Or is it the grandfather? Liz Elliott is kind of grandfather. She was speaking in Canada, and then I obviously wrote to her that hi Liz, for example, tested me that study with you. And sadly, when I emailed her, she was suffering from cancer in 2012 or 13. And she replied me that so I'm really sick. You can email Brenda Barson. She's one of my colleagues. She will be happy to support you. And then the moment I replied to Brenda that I want to study restorative justice, and I also emailed Liz Elliott. At the time, I got a kind of automatic reply that Liz Elliott passed away. So I haven't met Liz, but she was the reason why I moved to Canada, and then I studied with Brenda Morrison, who was my master's and PhD supervisor. And I studied kind of supervision for master's and PhD. And then I major work in the field of water and then said how do you apply restorative justice. I also did kind of more genesis and practices of restorative justice in Canada in multiple provinces. So I have been in this particular field for I think since 2009 or 10, and this is 2024. So it's a long journey. So I'm very fortunate to study both with Howard and also Liz and also having that the way I teach restorative justice. I will share one of the key qualities that I will share later on is the way Howard taught us. One quality that really attracted me, the way he embodied. He was teaching a class. He was a friend. He was a teacher. He was an amazing professor. He was also very non-judgmental, compassionate, and caring. I will share some of these qualities in Facebook. Same with Brenda Morrison, who was my supervisor. I never met Isabella, but her work, even when I interviewed many of her students about my PhD work, they were actually saying that her quality as a teacher, caring, compassionate, and kind, and also very humble. Her backyard, in her house, she'll have lots of gathering where you have former convicts, students, academics, scholars, they all come together, and they felt that they belong in this particular house. So she gave the sense of belonging. So this is my own journal of restorative justice that I want to share with you. And so I would like to do a kind of small engagement. So because it's not a circular classroom, but somebody around me, maybe just the person, before I will do a pair work. So before I do the pair work, just think about a teacher in your life, maybe high school teacher, primary school teacher, maybe university teacher, who had a lot of impact on you, a positive impact. Or maybe a subject that you in your high school at the classroom, you feel so good. The teacher was so kind, or maybe the teacher had so much impact on you. For whatever reason, you still think about that teacher. Or you still think about that particular classroom. Or you still think about that particular subject. Who is that teacher? Or what is that topic? Or what is that subject? Just think for maybe 10 seconds. You have it urgent? You have the teacher, or because there will be a pair work in a few seconds. You have it? Let me see, you have it. You have it right. Kind of? You have it? Okay. So if you have it, can you stand up? Just stand up? Yeah. If you don't mind, yeah. And then find somebody that you don't know. Somebody that you don't know. Then share who is your teacher, what was your, just for 1 minute. Share with somebody that you don't know. You know each other? You all know each other? Okay. Maybe somebody that you know less. Like maybe you are roommates, somebody you know, then share who was your teacher. Maybe you're gonna share with each other, like the two of you. Two of you. Then can you share with each other? Okay, you share? Can you share with each other? Can you share? And probably can you share? Let's share briefly. A teacher that had impact on you. Do you want to share with me? Okay. Just a teacher who had profound impact. Just a brief share, 1 minute. You share with each other? Just a teacher who had impact. I can share with you. Okay. Who was the teacher? Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you so much. Have a seat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I was sharing with Arjun and then he was mentioning, do you mind to share? If I share, that his the 12 teacher that profound impact. He had in the difficult time, the teacher really created a space for her, for him. So that, the support that he needed in the difficult time and he would impact me. And you want to share briefly?
Yes, she has shared me about her building, the Kavadi Management.
Yeah.
The first year of their graduation,
Yeah.
So she got a bit of law client. She made them very confident about justice, which is being prevailed in the country. That the justice not being given equally to the boys, relatively to students, to make them feel about justice.
That had impact on me.
Yeah.
Good. Do you want to share? Briefly, yeah.
Yeah, I had an experience with my teacher back then,
Is it high school or primary school?
like high school.
High school teacher.
Yeah, she was my physics teacher back then, and she taught physics, made physics very easy,
Interesting. and easy.
interesting, and easy.
Is it because the teaching style was simple?
Yeah, it was simpler, and she involved the whole class.
Was that the one?
I could be more than common in all the teachers who are trying to do college. I think what was common was that they all loved their subject and loved teaching. That had an impact that when you actually love what you are doing, you do it far better.
Yeah, that sense of fun and energy and passion. Fantastic. How about something from here? You want to share?
So yeah, so my professor from when I was reading undergrad, gave me voice. Basically, they taught how to speak up and how to stand their own principles, which I have found impact.
What's your name?
Prerna.
Priya.
Prerna.
Pregnant. Same thing for me. So my teacher was there. I felt like in my undergraduate, my bachelor, and my high school, I had horrible experience. Teachers were so brutal. Like if I asked any question, I would be penalized. It was always my way or highway. But that teacher, like Howard Zeher, the questions, the curiosity that I had, like he provided that such an excellent space that I felt that I can ask questions. And my intellectual curiosity has some space. It doesn't have the labels and all this profound. Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to share before I go to some of the things about art teaching? Really want to share? You want to share?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, my experience dates back to grade 5.
Grade 5,
So
okay.
that's the first time that we are introduced to social studies. In at least in my school, that is the case.
Yeah.
So our teacher explained us about elections through this like small exercise in which she just said that there are 3 people, A, B, C, D, and you vote for all of them.
Yeah.
So then we had this that we had like on Chelsea Road, A, B, C, D, and then we counted the vote. And then I just felt how empowered our citizens can be, and something that just made me understand that right now maybe because of certain things we are not empowered, but how empowered we are supposed to be. So that had a very profound impact.
So the classroom engagement, the way
Yes.
she engaged and then connected you. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Anybody else? So in terms of some of the art of teaching, like if I did some study on, so I interviewed my colleagues in the faculty, not the spectrum of arts, but of engineering, social science and arts. I interviewed around 30 of my colleagues. And as a part of that, how do you make teaching joyful? How do you make teaching fun? And many, I have so many findings, but I will share just three. Number one was passion. What's your name, Devon? Imani. What you mentioned about the love for the topic. And then many, like the 30 of my colleagues, so almost all of them mentioned that you have passion on the topic. This energy that you bring to the class is so contagious. You teach forensic psychology, you love it. And then when you're teaching, it has so much impact on you. Or do you love criminal law? And then whenever you're teaching, it has so much impact on you. Or maybe you're interested in constitutional law, that you're so interested in the topic. And you can, I had one teacher who was teaching math. And the way he made the math classes so engaging, he got some label and some other engagements in the class, and then in the math class. And that's fully possible because it's all about in your mind how you arrange the classrooms. And then there are some other board games that we will include when we had pandemic. On Zoom, he had access to some online platforms where he was so passion is we have that energy kind of stream back from the topic of this. You can find many ways to make it instructive. The second kind of theme that I had most of our teaching was compassion. What Arjun was mentioning and what Rigna was mentioning, and many of you felt like we had difficulties in our school, high school, primary school, and universities. A teacher who was kind and compassionate, or hold you for faith and with non-judgmental approach can save your life. I had one student who missed multiple classes. And then as a teacher, I had full jurisdiction and power to give her zero. To also just said, you missed all the classes, you didn't submit assignments, you just got minus 0, 0 and all those. I had obviously full power in my service, in my academic portfolio. What I did, I just asked her what happened. And I met, and I realized that this person was homeless for 2 weeks. She was literally sleeping in her car because for whatever difficulties she had, she was evicted from her place. She was literally sleeping in her car, so she didn't have any time to do anything. So I had, as a part of academia, we had also a loss of freedom. I created a new exam, new type of test for her. And then still up with the relation, but that part of her, it's not just her kindness and saved her life because suspension from the class or getting 0 from that class or failing that class will trigger more difficulty. There are so many studies across the world where it shows that kindness in teams with compassion in people that saves the life. There are mental health issues, for example, if I'm here, for example, these are myself, Arjun, and what's your name? Rohit, and what's your name? Manoj. And the 4 of us are here. So one of us is like the mental health issues that I'm talking, anxiety, depression, PTSD, all those mental health issues. Out of 4, 1 of us are clinically diagnosed with mental health issues, either anxiety or depression, PTSD. This is like kind of global statistics. It's deep across the world, and students they face more difficulties. So small compassion or gesture of compassion can contribute major medical support for students. And a good teacher is somebody who can distill this compassion. And the last one, I have 2 more of them. Knowledge, for example. Whatever topic you're teaching, if you're teaching, what will be your future interest? What you will teach? Or any subject that you like in the field of law? Arbitration. What is your interest in terms of area in law? Family law. Okay. Family law is can be very interesting. Can be complicated, but very interesting. What is your area that you're interested in? Land law? Oh my goodness. You will solve all the problems in the whole world. Because in Bangladesh, the expert of land law, because we have a huge problem with Adivasi communities in Bangladesh, in Canada as well, because indigenous people they have oral tradition. They do not have written document in terms of land ownership. So you will be the expert to solve all the problems. What is your interest? Constitutional law, right? Criminal law, okay? So you will make people more in trouble. Criminal law, or maybe more kind, huh? Public and international law. Criminal law. So whatever topic you have, if you have cutting edge knowledge, for example, I teach crime or criminology. So if you have who is the latest, what are the latest theories? What are the theories that talk about human trafficking? What are the theories that talk about arbitration, family law? What is the cutting edge area in those research? Because if, as a teacher, if you're not up to date on those topics, whatever you teach, what are the latest publications? What is happening in, for example, in this topic in Nepal? What is happening in this topic in maybe Singapore? What is happening in this topic in Mombasa? What is happening in this topic in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo? What is happening in this topic in Europe? what is happening in South America and Latin America. This is, then your knowledge on this topic will be so diverse. Family law, for example, Canadian court or Canadian family law may be different than for what is happening in Bangladesh. So if you have access to those cutting edge law and knowledge, you will be a very good teacher. But if you're not familiar with what is happening in publications and what are the theories in practice, then obviously you can teach. Nobody will bother you when it comes to performing and in terms of passion, you will have less than this. And then the last one is humility. I mentioned to you that one of the reasons why I love teaching is those teachers that I mentioned, Howard Zeher, Lizelia, Brenda Morrison, who had profound impact on me. They are very humble in terms of, sadly, this master servant died relationship that I'm the teacher. You have to listen to me, it's my way or highway. Sadly, that contributes a lot of challenges. It doesn't foster relationships. It doesn't foster connections. Teachers and students are very sacred relationships, not like a purity relationships. It's like I am the gel super and you are in the gel. So that doesn't work because in our brain, just a brief sharing of our brain. So this part is called prefrontal cortex. And we have amygdala in our brain as well. So prefrontal cortex is the part where you think rationally. Amygdala is the part where you and I respond whenever you and I are in trouble. For example, you are chased by a tiger. You're running so fast. Why? Because you are responding with your amygdala, because amygdala is releasing some stress hormones. If it is released, then you can fast way faster. You can run way faster than a normal pace. So if you are in a very stressful situation, like a very you need a teacher, you cannot, your trigger, your amygdala is automatically alarmed. Then you cannot think rationally. Your part of the rational part, sadly, there is a disconnection from your prefrontal cortex and amygdala. So that difficult environment doesn't create what we call a healthy classroom, joyful classroom. A classroom where you are fully grounded, you can think rationally, you can act compassionately. A good teacher with humility hopefully will create this is my last point in terms of art of teaching. So teaching is an art. I have experience who are very good scholars. Like they publish many books and resources, but they may not be a good teacher. You learn their class and you felt like so much information, but it's not something that you need lots of practice, training, also passion, all of it. It doesn't matter if you have like the highest GPA in the class. It doesn't necessarily mean you can be a good teacher. There are so many layers that if you do not cultivate the public, all of you are lawyer. So you will get a good teacher. Because those if you have quality to be a good lawyer, it's a bonus that you can be definitely a good teacher if you cultivate some of those qualities. With that, I will go back to restorative justice. So because that's what I teach. This is a brief introduction. How many of you know about restorative justice? Yes, you heard about restorative justice. None of you? You heard about restorative justice. From where?
College on classes, around that.
Amazing, amazing. And anybody else know about restorative justice? Okay. It's because I will give you very simple. Like if I ask you, what's your name? Krishna. So how do you define crime? Crime is a violation of criminal code, right? For example, I stole $10 from you, I'm the criminal. And I violated one specific code in the criminal code, and you will put me in jail, right? That's a criminal, that's the definition of crime. It's a violation of criminal law. And in a restorative justice, the way we see crime as a violation of criminal law, it is also a violation of relationships. For example, I have broken my relationship with you. Now, how do I restore law? And also, how do I restore my relationship with you? Both. It's both. That's what restorative is. It's a relational worldview of crime. It's a way. It's the way you and I see. For example, anything with criminal, it really disrupts some relationships. It can be relationship between victims and offender. It can be relationship between offenders and her or his family. For example, I am a criminal, and because of this crime that I committed, I will have disruptions of my relationship with my spouse, with my siblings, with my parents, with my relatives, right? Those disruptions will happen. So restoring those relationships between the people around victims, between the people around offenders, and also between victims and offenders. All those relationships are important as a human being. And what we saw in the field of restorative justice, if you make that relational lens, then it has therapeutic impact. This particular lens has a lot of focus on therapy, like kind of this particular person, how to that person not to reoffend again. And also specifically towards the healing on healing for both victims and offenders. So that's one way to define restorative justice, the relational worldviews of crime and justice. And the person, one of them, you can see here, Neil Christie, he is a Norwegian criminologist. So long time ago, in 1977, he wrote an article. It's called Conflict as a Property of the Community. For example, a conflict happened. You had a fight with your neighbor. What's your name? Yeah. Ishan. So we had a fight. And then after the fight, now it's a conflict. So what do? You call police, right? Because somebody stomped you. And then you call police and police came and arrested you. Right? So what Neil Christie, what he did in 1977, what he said, conflict, it was our property as a community. It was community's property. Then police came, sadly lawyer came, and then judges came, and they stole this conflict from us. Now Ishan doesn't know what to do. The conflict happened, he lost the capacity to deal with it because this particular property was taken by police, lawyer, and judges. And then we have, there is another judge in Canada, his name is Judge Barry Stewart. He calls it, now we have 911 mentality. Something happened called 911. 911 will solve your problem. So he really wanted to make sure that conflict, the way we had our ownership as a community, we should reclaim it back. We need to have our capacities to address and deal with conflict. So that was the beginning, the small beginning. He was questioning how sadly our criminal justice system is contributing more problems. The way we are offering our court correction with our jail and our also police, sadly it's not helping those who are in the help. Victims are more victimized, those who are offenders, they're doing more criminals. The offending rate across the world, not just in India, in Canada, in the US, in Russia, across the world is very high. So what is the function? Why is it not working? So he had this big question. So that was a big movement around that time. And then later on, Albert English, another scholar, he coined the term restorative justice. And he was thinking, how do we make sure that our restitution, whatever we do restitution, how we can do creative restitution. So that was a small beginning. And then Howard Zehr, he wrote a book called Changing Lenses. And he mentioned that if you want to deal with crime and criminal issues, crime problem, we need to change our worldviews, we need to change our paradigm, all of it. His book became what we call instrument to or in the field of restorative justice. Resilience, she played a very important role in Canada in terms of promoting restorative justice in university, in justice system, in academia, in school, all levels of areas wherever you. She had to that. So this is a very small beginning, and then as a practice, the board here, but there is a board. Okay. In 1974, hopefully you will remember, 1974. What happened? If you don't remember anything about restorative justice, remember this day. If I see Ishan made that 10 years from now, if you ask what happened in 1974, you will remember. That's the beginning of restorative justice. That's the kind of bar of the day, modern restorative justice. 1974. You remember? If I ask you when restorative justice started in modern time, what will be the answer? 1974. Where? In Canada. In Canada. Canada is known because Canada is seen as a kind of poster child for restorative justice. So what happened in 1974? Very brief. There were two gentlemen. They were so young, like 17 or 18 years old. They were bored, or 16 or 17. They were bored and they were drunk. The two major problems. Two young men, they were bored and drunk. So what they did, they started vandalizing house after house after house. By the time they're done, they vandalized 22 houses. How many? 22. And then one of the neighbors called police. Police came, arrested both of them. These two gentlemen had no criminal record. This is their first offense. And then they were just bored and drunk. So probation officer, when they found the probation officer and then the court worker, you had a question, sir?
I'm just not getting the term you used before.
They were bored. Bored, like boring.
Oh,
Like
I was
bored.
not getting.
Yeah. They were bored and drunk, and they vandalized 22 houses. So police arrested both of them, and the probation officer felt that these two gentlemen, they had no criminal record. If you put him in jail, he had this understanding that it is a justice system is like a revolving door. You put them in jail for a small crime, they will come back, they will do more criminals, and there will be another one, it just continues. So he felt that if I put them in the court system, it will be revolving door. So he wanted to try something new, but he had no idea. So he went to the community, it was in Waterloo, Kitchener. So Canada, there is a specific city called Waterloo. And there is a specific township called Elmira, which is here Elmira, the specific area in Waterloo. So there was a community member from a specific church called Mennonite Church. So Mennonites, they have a lot of conflict resolution practice in their own congregation. So they had one specific member. He suggested that why don't we invite these two gentlemen to a specific gathering and invite all these 22 houses. And he was fully, the probation officer felt that we can try, but I have no idea what will happen. So they proposed this idea to the judge. The judge, these two gentlemen had no experience or no history of criminal record. We really feel that justice system will not help them. Can we do something new? And judge asked, what is something new? Then they proposed that we will invite these two gentlemen, these 22 families in a gathering, and what they will come, they will share what happened, and then we will find a solution. These two probation officers and then community worker had no clue that these 22 families will show up. They just invited them. And they thought that maybe 1, 2, or 3 will show up. In that gathering, all these 22 families showed up, all of them. And then these two gentlemen showed up. And they were sharing what happened. And they were sharing, we were bored and drunk, we just smashed windows, smashed car, smashed all the fences, random things. And they thought that it just random act of vandalism, it didn't have any major consequences. And then the moment this 22 families started sharing what was the impact in their life, in their small neighborhood, in their life, they never closed the door because it was so safe community. They felt that now we don't have the safety, we have to close the door. And they were mentioning their safety, their sense of freedom, their sense of autonomy, their sense of belonging, everything has been shattered because of it. These two gentlemen had no idea what the impact of their family. And after those sharing from these two families, these two gentlemen felt so much of people and genuinely themselves that they felt like, oh my goodness, they had no idea that this was. And then obviously then they had to talk how they can contribute towards restitutions, planning, and then they completed those plans. One of these two gentlemen of the school became a professor. The other one became a successful business person. So that was the small beginning. It used to be called, it's called Victim Offender Reconciliation Program, or so that was the name of that particular practice in 1974. And then it was 1974, and then in 2024, right now, more than 100 countries across the world, we have this particular way to be crime conflict. They invite victims, offenders, and community members to share what happened, what are the impacts, and how do we resolve that. It became a major restorative justice practice, and this is the first documented case of restorative justice, not just in Canada, in the whole world. And right now, if I ask you, when restorative justice started?
1974.
Where?
Elmira, Canada.
Perfect. We got 100 out of 100. We are done. I mentioned about this particular article, 1977, and then there is a major theorist in 1989. He is from Australia. Why these two gentlemen and these 22 families, when they said together, why it worked? So there is a theorist, a criminologist from Australia. His name is Dr. John Braithwaite. He studied those particular ideas, and he developed a theory. Why it worked? Because according to him, restorative justice process, these two men and these 22 families, when they were together, he created some what he called specific shame. It's called reintegrative shame that instill what we call accountability and also acceptance, accepting responsibility. So both accountability and acceptance comes in this particular shame. It doesn't stigmatize. It's called stigmatizing shame. For example, if Asad did something horrible work, it doesn't stigmatize me as a horrible person. It condemns my action. It doesn't condemn me as a horrible person. What's your name? Akansha. For example, if you do something horrible, Stigmatizing shame is you are also a horrible person. But if reintegrating shame is you are a wonderful human being, but you need something better. So it has some distinctions. So according to John, the restorative justice process really allow to have this full authenticity and full the whole person in that particular process. It doesn't stigmatize that person. And then promote that kind of shame that is still acceptance, accountability, all of it. And then that's the theory. And then that theory has become a native theory. And it got tested. Like he did lots of randomized control testing in Australia and New Zealand. And then they found that some correlation between restorative justice and also positive shame or reintegrative shame. That is stigmatized. And then Howard Zener, his book in 1990s, had included that. And then in 1996, in the Penal Code of Canada, about police officer, lawyer, and judges, they started making sort of justice. Why? Because of the Penal Code. Section 718 has a specific implication that if it is first time offender, the offender is minor offenses, police officer need to strongly recommended to apply restorative justice. In Australia, it is mandatory. In New Zealand, it is mandatory for police officer to apply restorative justice first. If it doesn't work, then you can go to our criminal justice system. And then from 1974, Ishan, this is 2024, more than 100 countries across the world. If you go to Uganda, they have some restorative justice. If you go to even a country, Mozambique, they have restorative justice.
United Kingdom.
They have many restorative justice. If you go to any country, huh? Where is it? Or you just name a country? It's not a real country. It's in the Hobbit land. Oh, okay. Maybe new country. So what I heard that it was so restorative justice became so popular all over the world that United Nations came and United Nations they have their own standard for restorative justice because UN member states it became so popular that United Nations they create this standard that restorative justice you want to apply as a member state you need to follow these principles and so from 1974 it became a huge movement even in Hollywood opera in the documentary on restorative justice and then Ellen DeGeneres did some work on promoting restorative justice. Sometimes different celebrities they felt restorative justice can be a way to deal with crime and it's a more healthy healing way than punitive way to deal with restorative justice. I'm not going to go into some definition because it will take a lot of time. So I teach this particular subject, and the way I teach restorative justice to Parvati can be different than to me. It can be to you. It can be to Rashi. We all have different ways to explain restorative justice. The way, hopefully, this part 1974 you remember. This is the last part. Hopefully, you remember. Restorative justice is a kind of is our way of life. The way you and I treat each other. For example, if you treat each other relationally. Your relationship, for example, restorative justice helps me personally to be a better husband, to be a better brother, to be a better teacher, to be a better son. Because now whenever I talk to my father, I want to see for whatever reason he's not, I want to see what are his needs. If I'm talking to my wife, for example, for whatever reason there is disconnection, what are her needs? Instead of blaming her. Or if I'm talking to my brother, there are some frictions. I see what are the needs that are not met. Or that are not a lot of times it focuses on needs in relationships. It doesn't blame. It doesn't focus on like labeling and blaming. That is a huge way or huge paradigm to apply in your own life. So in my class when I teach restorative justice, my last class is called How Do We Apply Restorative Justice in Your Daily Life? As a lawyer, so how do you practice restorative justice in your daily life? As a husband, as a wife, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, as a sister, as a relative. I have a colleague who and I, like Alana Everson, and he lost a problem with her. She in her wedding applied restorative justice. So she put all those bride and groom in circle, we're all sitting, they had a talking piece, they were all sharing about the impact of relationships, the value of relationships, like restorative justice. So this is so powerful philosophy. It has a lot of focus on relationships. It is relational worldviews. Everything is relationally connected. You and I, our relationship is so important. And then relationship, if we can focus on it, can foster other things in it. And then also needs.
For example, why I'm responding that way? Because I have some unmet needs. And then our needs that you and I have is not something that we have. If I have my needs, it will not compromise with part of the needs. We have complementarities. All problem we have is we do not know how to negotiate, or how to discuss, or how to share in a non-judgmental setting. So hopefully you remember, historic lesson is a way of life. And we can apply it for daily life. How do I teach? So there are multiple ways I teach. One is, obviously, there is a lot of theory, like I talked about different technology theories, and then also a lot of practice. One of the programs that we have is WART, Victim Offender Reconciliation Program. There is also a program called Family Group Conferencing. There is also a program called Peacemaking Circle. There is also a program called Peer Mediation. All these practices are all practiced by sometimes police officer, sometimes lawyers, sometimes judges, sometimes, for example, in Canada, we have a program called Sentencing Circle Judge. So when they're sentencing, they can sentence in a circle. So sentencing is a part of penal code. It's a part of our justice system, part of correction. So judge, they have full jurisdiction to listen from the evidence, community, and then offer those. It's called sentencing circle. They're also in witness court, where you can invite the instructors and they can come in and they can be part of the sentencing. It's a beautiful, it can be applied to many settings. So I try to include theory and practice both. And then also, there are lots of engagement. So for example, in the class, I have lots of Lego, I have 50 sets of this Lego. For example, if I give it to Arjun, then I will give it to all of those two, and then I will ask them, think about the story, this is what comes to your mind, and then they will make something with this Lego. Maybe it looks like this. Whenever you think of crime, what comes to your mind? Make something with this Lego, they will make something. And then whenever I'm done teaching, I will ask them again, whenever you think of crime, what comes to your mind? Now they also crime, it's also a violation of law, it's also a violation of good violation. So you will now remember, it's not just a violation of law, it's also a violation of relationship. So whenever you will make something, whenever you will make, there will be some twist in it. So it really helps. And then there are lots of movements. Whenever I'll ask you, and you can go to that particular corner, you can go to that particular corner. There will be lots of movements in the class. It's not just sitting all the time. And then there will be some board games, game theory. There's not the major theory in the field of law. There are so many games that we have that we use in the class. That's why the class is so experienced. Why? Because the way Arjun processes this information, he uses maybe lots of his brain. And some people, they are visual like me. I want to see it. And some people are more tactile. They want to just touch it. So some people are more they are more movement oriented. So there are multiple modalities, multiple ways people learn. And so we have all those experiential learning in those classrooms. And the way our designer and Lizzie taught me to teach a story class is fully experiential. Why? Because number one, multiple modalities, and lastly, we also discuss inside the chair. Inside prison, for example, inmates, they have a lot of cognitive difficulties. They do not process information like you and me. So a lot of them, they learn by doing. They learn better by doing. So that's the kind of experience we have. I have guest speakers, for example, those who are victims of offenders, and invite them to my class. I have one person who was carrying 3 life sentences. 3 life sentences. So in Canada, life sentence means 25 years in jail. It's not life or life. So 3 life sentences means almost 75 years. So he killed one person inside jail. So he was in a maximum security prison. It's kind of called special handling unit. Then he was in a medium security prison. And then he was in a medium security prison when I met him. I will invite him in the class, and then he will share how restorative justice has so much impact on him, how it has impacted the way he views the world, the way he views crime, and then later on his overall integration. And I invite some of we have a specific program called COSA. This is a specific program for high risk. So COSA Circles of Support and Responsibility. It's a specific program for highly sensitive. They're all extremely bad criminals. They need horrendous work. And we have therapy and programs for, and there are so much study. If you ask me which program in the field of restorative justice has lots of study, that will be COSA. So many scholars from UK and Europe and North America, they studied this program and they found that this program has significant impact on the offender. For example, I am involved in a course in Saskatchewan, and we have been serving this particular group for the last almost 20 plus years. And for the last 5 years, we almost have zero reoffending, zero. That we did not go through this program, the reoffending rate will be almost, in some cases, 60%, 70%, 80%. This program has significant impact. There is another program in Vancouver area, it's called Fraser View or Fraser Valley Costa. They also have the same experience for the last 4 or 5 years. We almost have zero reoffending. Major program. So when they come to my class and they share that this program has so much impact, students feel so much through. That's not just a field that's important. It also has profound impact among those people. Food is so important in my class. I don't know whether you have food in your class, professor, but I do potluck. For example, I invite them to bring your own food. Then which is your favorite food? Biryani? What is your favorite food?
Mine is Rajma.
Rajma.
Rajma rice.
Rajma rice?
Beans.
Okay. What is your favorite food? Burger. Okay. Beef burger or chicken burger? Veggie burger. Okay. And then what is your favorite? Anything. You're only for us like me. I like everything. Everything. What is your favorite? Huh? Veggie sandwich. Veggie burger. You? Any favorite food? Dosa, okay. What is your favorite food? Okay. So what I do is like in fact like a kind of potluck, and then what I do talks about is like because 3 times in a semester we have 4-month semesters, so maybe at the beginning of the semester, and maybe in the middle, and maybe last year of the semester whenever we're done, just bring your own food and then share, and then for example you are bringing veggie burger and then sharing with your friend. And maybe Arjun is bringing biryani, and then maybe share. So just whatever you have. It's not something fancy. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it creates some relationships. Because the amount of I tested this in my class. The semester when I got the problem, and the semester I have this fundamental different relationship among them. Relationship that students have with each other is so different. If they have food, if they have relation with each other, it's so different. The amount of joy. The last class. They feel, oh my goodness, we're done with this semester, I will not see it again. They feel sad when they have this relation with them. Then you see learning is so fun, job. When you love to talk to the class. When is that class? When is that class? So food is so important, and a lot of times, especially my European friends who are not too much of food, because like South Asian or Eastern people, we love food and we love sharing food. And they love this idea. And hopefully, if it is allowed, some campus in some classrooms, we do not allow food because of the university policy. So in that time, we go outside and we make sure that we so follow within the students, whatever boundaries that we have, we still can create some job. And then as a national, the class that I teach, if it's 4th year, 3rd year, I teach in a circle. So circle really helps. Because it creates more higher or setting time of the and I'm here fascinated in this particular time of the super knowledgeable. I have so much information that I don't know. So that you need that and then talking piece. How many of you heard about talking piece? You heard about talking piece? What is your name? Nirvana? Aroshi? What is talking piece? How did you learn?
Day one, she had a smiley on the sticks, whoever had it.
Wow. What's the name of that music teacher?
Mrs. Kumar.
She's the best teacher in the whole world. Very good. So this is so the idea of a talking is because in the it can be anything. It can be a rock, it can be something that can be meaningful, that also cannot be meaningful. It can be anything. So the idea is whoever is holding, he or she is talking. And then rest of us, we are active, compassionate, non-judgmental listener. When I say active listener, you're just here fully with us. You're not thinking about, oh my goodness, all those critique and all of it. You're just fully here listening and listening and listening. And then it will go to you and it will go to you. Usually it goes to the circle. So whenever it goes to you, it can have 3 things can happen. Number 1, you can talk. You have nothing to share, you can pass. Or you can hold it for 30 seconds. Like this is my time. all accepted, or you can pass it. So this is something, because in my experience, I was not active talker in my class. I remember when I was teaching the class, when the talking piece was coming, I was so waiting for that, because a lot of times in class, there are some people who are very active, they will steal the show. And I was kind of introvert in the class. I will not speak all the time. And then I will miss so many opportunities that I wanted to share, but my time will never come. This talking piece was such a freedom for me and such a life-saving experience for me. Because in Horse's class, like we will do a brief opening circle with the talking piece and a closing circle with what stood out for you. And then all of you will have an opportunity to share. So the story versus class. In each class, I will bring, for example, if I'm teaching class on justice, I have a different talking piece. I have a class on punishment, I'll bring another talking piece. I have a class on relationship and restorative justice, I'll bring another talking piece. If I have a class on shame and restorative justice, I'll bring another talking piece. If I have a class on trauma and restorative justice, I'll bring another. So I have like kind of 12 theme-based talking pieces. I have a huge collection of talking pieces from many parts of the world. From wherever I visit, I collect one talking piece. So in India, this is my first time here. I will collect the talking piece. Something will be on my way. I was in Athens a few years ago. I got some stones from Acropolis on Athens. And I went to beautiful talking piece. That's another way to create what we call restorative classroom. Active listening is so important. Students, whenever, because I have lots of peer engagement, they share with each other, and then group of 3, group of 5, and then also collective sharing. And then if you pay attention to each other, because listening is also healing. Somebody is listening. It's not a powerful act of work. If you can cultivate that as a human being, you will see you are creating so many relationships. You're talking to your mom, you are a very active listener, you will see that she's experiencing healing. If you're a good listener, if you're a good active listener, your spouse is talking to you, your significant other is talking to you, you are not over talking, you are not busy with something else, you can see you are cultivating relationship. You are cultivating. It's not important. Simple process of active listening is not something new. It's all about your wholehearted presence. If I ask you what is the definition of active listening, it is not that you have to listen so deeply. It's not that you give all the notes. It's not that you have to be super intelligent. You just show your wholehearted presence. You are just fully there with that person. You're not busy with phone. You're not busy with so many thoughts. You're just there for that person, with that person. That's it. Just wholehearted presence. What is the definition of active listening? Wholehearted presence. What is the definition? That's it. So this is about what we call art of teaching restorative justice. I'm almost done. Almost done with it. Okay. 2 more minutes? Okay. So restorative justice, if you don't remember anything, 1974, Waterloo, and also restorative justice is a way of life. You'll remember that, right? And then in terms of teaching restorative justice, all you remember is what will you remember? Active listening. What is active listening? What did you mention? Wholehearted. That's it. Just remember those active listening. That's such a good way to apply restorative justice. And hopefully you remember food. Hopefully you remember food will, because it's such a popular. You can ask your teacher, can we do a potluck? What is potluck? Just Arjun will bring biryani and then veggie burger. What's your name again? Ishita. I am just trying to remember the names. Also, remembering each other's names is so important. You remember all the names? You can share all the names, okay? If you remember your classmate's name, in my first class, I try quiz. Like if I have 30 students, I will want to share all the names. In the third class, I give them a prize. So if you can remember all the names, you will get a gift from me. And there are many students like that. If I have 30 students, many, like sometimes 3, 4, 5, they remember all the names. Knowing names are so important. If I know part of the team after 5 years, you'll be very like, oh my goodness, you remember me? If I know Arden's team after 10 years, oh, I met him, maybe someone in London, he is just walking around to be a barrister, or maybe somewhere, or maybe Shan. Yeah, that will be, because that created a lot of fun with us. And then decolonization. So I also, the way I teach restorative justice, I also try to make it kind of decolonize system. And why decolonization? Because this is a decolonization as a discipline is a very new in Canada and also in the world as a discipline. It was many activists from Gandhi, Martin Luther King, to many scholars. They contributed as an act of decolonization, but as a, in terms of academia, like how do we decolonize law? How law school can be decolonized? For example, recently in Oxford and Cambridge, their law school, they have a specific practice and thinking how to decolonize law. And then in our university, I teach justice and criminology. We have a program called How to Decolonize Criminology. Because all the theories that we have, you can remember all the theories are from either your all of the theories are from European countries. They're white, male, dominated scholarly work. And there are hardly any scholar from the what we call South or India or Bangladesh or the South Asia or in general any of those areas. So I try to use decolonizing events in all my disciplines. So the class I teach on restorative justice, the class I teach on conflict resolution, the class I teach on criminology theory, I try to use decolonizing events. And there are three camps. One specific group, they see that the is not needed. There is, we already have what we have. Why do you want to shift the boat? It's already working, academia is working. Why do you want to bother? There are many who want to keep status quo as it is. There is another group like me who feels that decolonization is possible. It is not something. There is another group. Decolonization is a myth. It's not possible because the system is so rigid. It is so embedded into this colonial foundation that we cannot do anything decolonization. There are major scholars, even in India. I will not name them, but you will know that they have very major, even also in other parts of the world. In New Zealand, there is one scholar. His name is Dr. Wan Tao, the Maori scholar, and they are very like according to them, restorative justice is not decolonization. Restorative justice is kind of helping the justice system to humanize. It doesn't solve the problem. It masks the problem, and it contributes more complications. So to them, decolonization is kind of you have to abolish our justice system. You have to abolish our prison. You have to abolish our law. So all those abolitionists, these are the same area where they feel that it is not possible within this structure, within the revolution. So there is that camp as well. And academically, there are scholarly tradition as well. So I'm kind of more in the middle. I feel like within our system, within our nation state, within the criminal and then police and then the court systems, you can apply decolonization with lapses. And that's how I see it. And I'm just curious, what do you think? Do you think actually decolonizing is possible? And the corner? Kind of? In the corner? You say it's possible? What's your name? Kushi? Kushi is happy? Fantastic. Kushi is possible? Okay. Part of it? Sorry.
No, I mean, the jury's out on whether it's possible or not. But you know, like in Australia, restorative justice in terms of juvenile justice has been implemented for a long time.
Yeah.
But now there are studies which are saying that restorative justice, you know, they took it as an indigenous practice of the Maoris, and that is why you mentioned the Maoris scholar, right?
Yeah.
So they sort of the state co-opted it, and it has helped the state in sort of saying that look, we are you know, going the indigenous route, and actually and in fact it's inherently discriminatory actually towards, so it's sort of perpetuating the problems with the whatever colonial justice system, and this just restorative justice has been co-opted by the state as part of it.
It's completely. So Nimisha is 100% correct. So restorative justice, a lot of time, like other fields, for example, decolonizing criminology or decolonizing law, is it possible? There will be many scholars like what I mentioned and what Nisha also is mentioning. They explicitly mentioned that this decolonizing work is a kind of you are playing comfort zone. You're not shaking the boat. You're just doing some patchwork, adding A and B and C, but not doing the real work. And then there, I will just put here, synthesis here. I will just, so as you can see here, the number 4, restorative justice humanizes human justice. It's a kind of co-option towards the state who opt this particular paradigm. They feel what Australia and what also happened in New Zealand. And the saddest part, they found some studies where they found that restorative justice harmed indigenous. Harmed indigenous. Why? Because the people who are serving are all from non-indigenous community. Indigenous community feel that they are from there. It's all from the kind of savior mindset that I'm here to save you, and you are just recipient. So a lot of white savior complex, that kind of mentality, contributed a lot of harm, and there are multiple studies both in New Zealand and Australia that restorative justice sadly had impact. So I mentioned the word. I hope you remember this word. If you don't remember, whenever you think of decolonization, remember one word. It's called epistemicide. Have you said epistemicide? What is epistemicide? You know?
For genocide is to human beings, genocide is to anybody the source of knowledge. So when you try to erase any source of knowledge,
Yeah.
and the people,
What's your name? Can you share one of them? Huh? Aroshi. You're so smart. Oh my goodness. I should have some gift for you. I should have some gift for you. Yeah. So proud of you. Oh my goodness. Like this is like exceptionally brilliant. This is the real observation. So epistemicide is like you are destroying the source of knowledge. So a lot of time that's if you think about decolonization, the first thing you and I have to understand the impact of colonization. In academia or in the field of restorative justice, the number one you have to remember is called epistemicide. What is epistemicide? The idea that knowledge started when Columbus discovered North America. Nothing happened before. Oh my goodness. Or if you go to the Indian Criminal Code, 18 something, nothing happened before 18 something. Or if you go to Indian Penal Code, 18 something, nothing happened before. If you go to Police Act, 18 something, nothing happened. So this is a huge disservice, and also what we call not genuine, that civilization we had centuries. For centuries, we had Indian civilizations here. For centuries, we had South Asian civilizations here. What was those knowledge that is fully disregarded? And the audacity of academics that only scholarly work available, and they are the only source of knowledge production. Not mentioning them, excluding them, or disregarding them is what we call epistemicide or epistemic genocide. You remember this. So that's number one. If I say what is decolonization? Understanding the impact of colonization. When I say what is the impact is this. You and I don't know what we had in maybe 1700 or 1600 or maybe 1500, maybe 1200, maybe centuries and centuries before. In Canada, now we are finding that we had our indigenous justice practices centuries before even the Europeans came to Canada. In the United States, the indigenous people in the United States, they have justice system, they have their own policing, they have their own law, and their own legal system for centuries before the Europeans came to the United States and did lots of what we call all those major
Actually, John met me a couple of years ago.
John Baker.
Wow. And he exactly said what you just mentioned. He said you were talking about the origin of RJ in many places. But for me, the reason of restorative justice is right here in India. The most important references that we get about restorative justice, they come from India. And he said, I discovered it at a very later stage. So therefore, in his later writings, not in the earlier writings, like Great also, Paulo Great. He is again a contemporary of but Brathwaite did mention thereafter the Ityas of reconciliation, of restorative justice, of this kind of community-based resolutions. So he's saying all these references are right here. Why don't you research and explore? You are right, there is a complete great preference of decolonization.
So that's why, this is so, the last part I will mention here, what Professor Bhaskar mentioned, is you and I, like in terms of decolonization, I mentioned this forward here, right, Shan? Yes. This is a modern history, but if you want to decolonize it, it will be as Professor Bhaskar mentioned. Community-based justice practices, for example, in Bangladesh, we have Salish. It's the community-based justice practices that had, like, if you want to trace it, it will go to centuries before we had any justice practices in any parts of North America. In India, if you go to any of those
5,000
states,
years. We have a history of 5,000 years.
5,000 years of history.
Yes.
And then
There are events that you can remote reference in the Upanishad and Vedas that you read. It is 5,000 years old.
so finding those manuscripts and then learning about those practices and then learning about those knowledge is regarding that is epistemic genocide. Not mentioning them is epistemic genocide. And also excluding them from references. If I ask you, how do you define justice? How do you define policing? How do you define courts? We will all go through all those theories, goes back to Europe. As if nothing happened in this part of the world. So that's a major problem. And my last slide, and then I should be done. So I have my own paper on decolonizing historic justice. If you are interested more, this is as a kind of early academic scholar. This is my major contribution in the historic justice area or global historic justice movement. I contributed some significant work in terms of how to decolonize historic justice. I have my own theory, and this is my kind of findings from my PhD thesis, and this is called a kind of decolonizing tree. And I mentioned, I will not go in detail, but in roots, there are some specific way that we cultivate some understanding. And then in trunk, how do you make sure that, for example, if you want to apply historic justice in Uttar Pradesh, how do you make sure that in your leadership, the local people, you do not have people from New Delhi who is telling them what to do. If you are applying historic justice in Kolkata, you as a scholar from here, you do not just copy and paste. Like you do not do McDonaldization of historic justice. You just have some local people and train them, and then they will be kind of mover and shaker. And then in terms of branches, you try to, for example, in Kolkata, they have their own culture and tradition. How do you make sure that you design and develop a historic justice practice that will be aligned with those values and principles? And then my assumption is if you can do that, your fruits, whatever practice will come, it will be what we call culturally, socially, spiritually grounded practices. Then people will feel more connected. It will not be kind of copying and pasting or marginalizing historic justice. That has a huge problem. In Bangladesh, I had a major critique where historic justice came to Bangladesh. Sadly, some academics, again, I will not mention which country, they came to Bangladesh with a major funding from an international organization. And they did a workshop and they created a historic justice manual in a few months. And then they published those manuals into English. Remember, most of those people in those areas, they don't speak English and they do not have access to them writing. They're not fully what we call formally literate. Those are all published in English. And that's how sadly historic justice formally came into Bangladesh. And it's a major what we call sadly colonial way historic justice came and it contributed hard. It's my kind of view that we can decolonize historic justice. And I did some practice, like a kind of academic research of decolonized teaching, like how you and I can decolonize teaching. And I interviewed against 30 of my colleagues. I asked them, how do you decolonize teaching? And this is the findings from them. Number one, they mentioned that we can include some elders into our classrooms. For example, in my case in Canada, we have a specific nation called Cree Nation, Cree. They are from specific indigenous communities. I invite them in my class at the beginning and then at the end, and they share some thoughts and wisdom. And then they also mentioned that we can include some diverse reading. For example, in our weekly reading list, you can include some non-European scholars, include some local scholars. That can be part of your decolonization. And then also, a lot of time, like academia is very rational. You only think rational work. You cannot include anything contemplative practice, mindfulness, or any other spiritual practices. There is a lot of separation between religion and rationality, or spirituality and rationality. So there are many academics where they're finding some contemplative practice. That way I will set in the intention for 30 seconds. Maybe a poetry. Maybe bring some emotions to that. So emotion, how do you make what we call emotionally intelligent justice? Emotionally grounded classrooms. So emotion and rationality are not disconnected from each other. How do you bring them together? So that's also part of the findings. And then also indigenous people, especially here in the Indian like Adivasis, Bangladesh, Adivasis, in Indian context, our indigenous people, we have a different way of thinking. We have oral tradition. How do we understand this from this? And then maybe share some of those into our practices. And then what the National University curriculum, for example, here in this university, how do you include that in our syllabus whenever we are designing a syllabus? Our teachers, they are very mindful in their syllabus because a lot of time it's very easy to follow one teacher who taught this class for the last 20 years and repeating the same and same. It's very easy and convenient. It's a very hard work to find some scholar who is not available in the list. And then finally there, what is happening in Mexico, in family law, what is happening in Nepal with regard to maybe land law, what is happening in Mozambique with regard to arbitration. Finding those scholars who are not European, I think will be a major service. And then a lot of times, if you have a policy from the university that we have mandate on decolonizing teaching, we have mandate on decolonizing curriculum, we have mandate on decolonizing syllabus, then automatically the academics they feel some what we call insurrection. For example, in our department, I wrote a paper for every departmental small policy brief on decolonizing our department. And one of the ways we do is we allocated some money to invite some elders into our classrooms. So previously, it was fully on the jurisdiction of the teachers, and a lot of time we pay from our own pocket because sometimes we need to do online to them to just pay respect to their service. But right now, in our department, we have some other budget, so faculty members can invite them. Now, not just Asad, we have all faculty members with their own. And now faculty of social science, that means we are the same. Some fun for other, I will take some fun for extra work. I was very fortunate to get this specific teaching scholar, where I got funding in some mixed work on the those interviews that I have done in teachers, they all have some honorary. Those funding from the university or policy usually. And this is what I do in my class. This is how I decolonize my classrooms. As you can see here, I have toilets in my class. In my reading list, I have very diverse reading list. And then in the week that I teach, there are 12 lectures that I have. And there are 2 lectures, it's a lecture on decolonization, lecture on indigenous justice and restorative justice. So I specifically allocated almost 3 weeks on the area of decolonization. And then you can see number 4, I have lots of projects. For example, one of the projects that students they have is just to talk to people about restorative justice. That's a part of the assignment. Another was just to visit different areas and see what are the justice organizations they have as part of the assignment. Another assignment I have is there's been something apply some what we call very creative thoughts into restorative justice process. And my most funny assignment was very kind of music. They created something, music, a list of play on the story. They created their own lyric and they performed. That became their assignment. So if you allow this, what we call space of, it's not just a written assignment. If as an academic, we are kind of courageous enough to understand that Arjun will perform very well in written assignment, maybe Khushi will perform very well in painting, maybe Parvati will perform very well in one of the first poetry, spoken word poetry on assignment on the story. So I have in my final assignment all those each of them. And then this is the included oral story. So like if I have one business student who would like to share oral story, for example, she or he learned from their grandparents, they also can submit those assignments. It's as an academic, we have full freedom in terms of how we can keeping the academic standard very high. We also have lots of spaciousness in terms of including those multiple ideas and thoughts. And what I found that teaching can be extremely fun and joyful. And teaching can be hugely impactful. And there is a term I hope I don't know what it's called. So transformational learning. Transformational learning. Just right here. Transformational learning is the learning that Arjun had from the English teacher. For example, that particular time he used to remember that teacher. And your music teacher used to remember her name and then the talking piece. That's something like that. We have this extreme like a cognitive shift in your mind. Oh my goodness. So that is what we call transformational impact on you about or from the teacher. It can happen if you see teacher, whoever is teaching as an art. You can see the teacher and that's about some theory and practice, some experiential learning, and maybe some guest speakers and maybe some food that will have some impact, and maybe something about decolonization. I mentioned about epistemic genocide. If we can, if because you will feel really pride, like a sense of dignity. I'm not dependent on European scholars. As an Indian, as a South Asian, I have a huge thinking. That is a very powerful, dignified view. Then you just learn from those scholars from Europe. You, as a South Asian Indian, as a one citizen of this country, you have extraordinary heritage that are rooted in you and your part. Knowing that, understanding that is a huge, what we call, it will add lots of dignity in your well-being. And then finally, the last one, and then that is humility. With all those knowledge, with all those expertise, if you and I have the courage to say that I don't know, I don't have the right answer, or I'm still limited, I'm still learning. I think that humility is such an important, and a lot of time in a European, Eurocentric academia, that's a major problem. It doesn't have, because you all have to show your work, you have to show your publications. So I am this amazing professor, Nobel laureate professor. And then those particular way of publicizing your work can contribute a lot of arrogance. And then that can be your blind spot. That can contribute a lot of disruptions. It doesn't foster relationships. This arrogance, whoever arrogance, it doesn't create relationships. It disrupts relationships. And then sadly it can contribute a lot of other blind spots and blind spots. So hopefully, if you are humble as a culture in our Indian subcontinent, South Asian culture, we are humble by our nature. So if we can keep those traditions, hopefully, and all of us can be a very good teacher. I think that's all. Thank you very much. I don't know, I don't have lots of gifts, but this is for you. Arush, right? What's it? Arush. This is a small card for you. I'm so proud. But she gave two beautiful answers. And so you understand, I also talking face.
I don't want to be found your personal anecdotes that you mentioned very strong of your life, quite interesting. Among others, I think the quality of humility in a student is something to take away. Now moving in to the question and answer section. Due to the paucity of time, we only need questions for this session. Anybody who's interested in asking so any questions, please raise your hands.
Yeah, to say my question actually is much based on applicability of art. In the sense that when communities are being involved in giving justice, then how do we ensure that the social stigmas and practices which might be which might not be legal as well, like prosody, for example, LGBTQ rights. It is something which is not accepted in many of the communities. So how do we ensure that the judgment or the consequence of RJ is something it's something which does not violate rights of the people and is something which is beyond social stigmatization which activists presently.
Thank you so much. It's such a beautiful question. And restorative justice, I didn't explain the definition. So it doesn't have any what we call cookie cutter, copy and paste, or very what we call rigid definition. It can be, for example, in classroom, it has definitely, the definition is different. We do not have victims or offenders in the classroom. In the court, it does, you can see the sentencing circle is different. COSA, for example, over here that I mentioned, you only have offender involved. So to any marginalized groups, how do you apply restorative justice? It will vary. And the way you develop that model is, as I said, constantly my model of decolonization, you have three things: consultations, then you have resource sharing, then you also have what is the third one I mentioned? I don't remember the last one. So there are three things you take, and then if you can develop those models address to any social justice issues, to any marginalized groups, then it will be grounded. Then it will not be somebody from somewhere else copied and pasted, and then that can be sometimes it can contribute from. But if you have grounded justice practices, then you will see automatically you will not have what we call side effects. Sometimes your intention is not enough. If you do not do, there is a book by Dr. Mary Anderson called Do No Harm. She studied many practices across the world by good NGOs, but they are doing more harm than good. And one of the key is those organizations and NGOs, they do not do active listening. They go, that's set in their mind, they just copy and paste what their founders mentioned. That they do not do consultation, the real authentic consultation with community. So consultations is super important.
Yes.
So how do larger apply differently to adult offenders and minor offenders?
Very good question. So it depends on, for example, in Canadian context, we have our Youth Justice Act 2003, and then also I mentioned about Penal Code Section 17. Both have explicit focus for youth offenders. For example, if there is a youth, they are very strong, like kind of strongly famous likelihood that they will go to restorative justice. With adult, it depends on different policies and provinces. Some provinces, they allow some of the adult cases to restorative justice, but some provinces, because a lot of time criminal law, it varies from province to province. And it doesn't have impact, but some provinces, they're going to, and they're allowing also adult for restorative justice. But in those cases, they only target, for example, minor offenses or not serious offenses, for example, sexual assault, rapes, and murder case. Those cases sometimes they do not allow. But there are some major RV practices in the US and also some in Canada where we are finding that major cases like rape, sexual assault, and murder case, restorative justice can be more effective for those cases. And if you Google restorative justice in Canada now, you will find one case. There is a person, her name is Margaret Lees. She was raped, and then she herself wanted restorative justice in the court. She fought with her lawyer that I do not want court, I want restorative justice. And then she went for restorative justice, and then she experienced her entire process, and then she wrote many articles, very recently, a few years ago. And next week she's going to Northern Ireland or Ireland in the UK to share her experience. And what she found that restorative justice is extremely therapeutic for her, and also the person who contributed is major harm to them. So you can sadly it depends on policymakers and politicians and also law makers. In theory, restorative justice has significant impact to those where the crimes or the harms are very common. So when it is shoplifting, small vandalism, small acts, it doesn't have any emotional attachment. You may have less transmission impact. If it is major case, and we have another case, somebody, her husband was killed, so she experienced restorative justice, and then she also wrote books how the experience contributed major therapy for her, and also for the person who killed her husband. And my last case study was somebody whose stepson wanted to kill her, and killed her biological son. Orphites. So the son was in jail and that she had PTSD. Her PTSD was so high, if she see any young people, she would literally drop everything. It was extremely high level of PTSD. Then she went for a restorative justice process. She met this particular offender inside jail. She went for victim offender mediation, and then her PTSD symptoms went drastically down. And then she also mentioned this justice became a major source of therapy for her in her recovery from PTSD. So there are many studies. So it depends on policies and politicians and all.
Okay, we can move to next. Yes. So final segment of today's session is with our moderator, Dr. Luke, Director for the Restorative Justice and Practices Program at the Council for School of Justice. At CSU, Dr. Tila oversees the implementation of restorative justice work and practices of the organization in their work with children who have harmed and who have been harmed. In the past, he has coordinated CSA's research efforts, most notably the study on using restorative justice practices in child sexual abuse. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Arjun, and I think it was wonderful listening to you. I think it's just a pleasure to see it happening when you do an experiential learning. And I think that is something which we all experienced here, and I'm sure for people who enjoy it online, it must have been so for them also. So very grateful, and also very grateful to Professor Bhatta to enable us to give the space to have this conversation. And there's such wonderful ideas on teaching as a pedagogy and different ways when you mentioned. I found them so innovative. And just listening to those and the fact that you can bring those practices in the classroom, that itself has a profound effect. Even the impact which you mentioned about one of the students facing difficulty. I think just understanding those needs and then working towards those needs was very fruitful. And when you spoke about decolonizing as it is, I was also wondering, and we have positive of time, that this is something for perhaps me to also thinking about how we have started to look at decolonization as a lens, trying to understand, look at the structures and also different scriptures. And there we are also mentioning, like Professor Bhatta mentioned, that we have a rich history, but also at the same time, when looking at this rich history, are we also acknowledging some of the practices which may not be very conducive to support restorative practices? So also being mindful of those practices and then tailor making some programs. But at the heart of all of this is the fact that the importance which it gives to the relational building. That is, of course, at the core. That lies at the core, and without that, I think one can talk about restorative justice, but unless one experiences and practices that in your daily life, then to see restorative justice is a far dream. So I think just the fact that it starts in the classroom starts with oneself. I think that is a very important takeaway from today. And I'm sure there are a lot of other questions also, but due to paucity of time, we limited. But I really loved listening to you and the fact that there were so many conversations, seeing such happy faces actually. Just the fact that you took us to classrooms, settling into the fact that thinking about the teachers and just this learning. I think just that stays with us. So thank you for providing that opportunity for us. Thank you.
We now like to conclude. I'd like to request Professor Bhatta, please handle the microphone.
Before that, I would say something because I can't really resist the temptation to thank Dr. Asad. It's very unusual conversation, and I wish to congratulate you for really demolishing some conservative methodologies that are often perpetuated in India and somehow they become then so rigid that we tend to forget to see the things beyond those lenses which are provided to us. This is the serious problem with it. Even in the context of restorative justice, there are a lot of discussions going on in India and elsewhere. And one problem which has happened mostly, this is again I'm taking from this law, that we have been conditioned to see criminal justice in a particular manner. And that conditioning is so strong that we have almost forgotten that there could be alternative ways to really contemplate criminal justice in a very refreshing way. So when you say the moment he said that is not simply a violation of law, it's an injury to the relationship, then it's a dramatic shift. Because even all the books of criminal law, I'm a teacher of criminal law, all the books that provide you the teaching on criminal law, they provide you an assembly line criminal justice. There's a crime, there's machinery, there's a response, and somehow when you are this understanding things in those lenses, you become sort of conditioned and so framework and so programmed that taking you to beyond those understanding becomes difficult, I think. So giving the restorative justice in your mind is difficult at times. And when you say it's a injury to the relationship, it actually departs the whole idea of punishment. So justice as punishment, as we understand. National Center for Restorative Justice in the US has come out with a study. They're saying the popular perceptions are built up in a manner where you tend to believe that justice is punishment. What is your idea of justice? Idea of justice is punishing people. This is extremely destructive. Idea of justice is restorative, restoring the harm, restoring the peace in the community, because community is order. A crime destroys that peace. How you are doing? And the most crucial statement is criminal law does not restore. It does not restore. Irrespective of punishment that you provide. I have written 2 articles, incidentally, and one was in English. The English was that 2 police officers were encountered in Telangana for, doing a sexual assault against a medical doctor. And we remember they were garlanded and publicly applauded. So the climate was that, look, this is something which is very, very important. This is how we are creating a bulldozer criminal justice. And around that time, a book came, which I read. I was reading this and I was thinking, look, what is the direction of the justice? The book was Martha's book on forgiveness. She was a Harvard law school dean. And I read that book. I said, in a world which is full of violence, hatred, and all kinds of negativity, that in America is not a great criminal justice system. So America is one of the most oppressive and punitive. And there, at least there is a person who is talking about forgiveness. When she was interviewed, so she said, I don't care. She said, you are talking about forgiveness, there are people who are destroying this. I said, all these things can coexist. We are giving death penalty also, we are giving forgiveness also. You have to imagine, these are immense contradictions in Europe. So I have written an article on forgiveness in Hindu. And I was also questioned that you are talking about the soft options to harden people. I said, I am not doing that. I said, let those vices continue. I am not bothered. But allow me to say what I wish. At least some of these vices are equal. So discourse on forgiveness should not be subsided because we have a death. Both can continue. A day will come. So that's why the terminology in criminal justice has to change from punishment, imprisonment, jail, to forgiveness, restoration, reparation, restoration. This terminology is missing. You see, in Indian Penal Code or criminal procedure, this terminology is missing. Because we become a sort of condition that punishment reforms, punishment heals. But criminal justice and criminal laws don't heal. So we have to create a criminal justice system which should have a healing effect. A healing effect cannot happen, and the great part, I was the part of criminal law reform process. And I have made a lot of suggestions to the government up to I can say the government was not willing to listen a lot of things which I was saying. I said this is immaterial, that punishment can never resolve the problem. You have to do something to create the harmonious relationship in the society. How the relationship can be repaired. Repairing effect in criminal law nobody understands. Because relationships are violent, and you see, if you calculate simply, if you have say 20 lakhs crime, and we are 20 million crime, we are 10 million crime. How many people are affected? Multiply by one crime at least involves a full family relationship, maybe 20. If you calculate this number, so billions of people are affected, and they are in the conflict relationship. So this conflict, so criminal law is perpetuating the conflict. That's all. Lawyers are interested to perpetuate the conflict. Lot of people have this with interest to perpetuate the conflict. So if some voice is there around us, which is talking about restoration and reparation, and rightly said it, irrespective of what we do in terms of punishment, we not repair. But restorative justice is an attempt to really explore the possibility. Apology. You are a teacher of Bharti. I read that at times people do not want punishment. The complainant is saying the more problematic and painful was the fact that the accused was laughing as if he had a sense of entitlement. He didn't have remorse even after while he was convicted. He's going walking. He said instead, if he could have shown a sense of apologies and let go, then this could have been a better choice. Letting go with apology had a bigger healing effect. So some of these things are very, very important. After all, who justice we are talking about? Victim justice is different, community justice is different, accused justice is different, convict justice is different. So we have to see all these things, and therefore in this climate, humanizing the criminal justice system, creating harmonious society and reparation and restoration in the society, rebuilding the society which have been impacted by that. 60% crimes are minor crimes. Now new criminal laws are providing sundry trials 60%. Now you can, instead of making them into something like criminal justice, you can simply get them done through the RJ process. This may have a tremendous. So I think these conversations are very important, and ever all you have shown us the art of teaching as immensely useful also. That's great. And I'm really, after a long time, I've had a deep thought provoking and wonderfully done, and I wish that if you could come, keep coming to us. Maybe on some other occasion, we'll have you for some more discussion with the faculty colleagues also. This art of teaching should have been done with the faculty colleagues, is what I think. But I'm so thankful and this university is for their for making it today. And wish you all the best. We have a small. This is a preamble of the constitution. There may be some more topics. So, yes. Some business. Thank you, Nisha, and always. tea happens today. So should we go for tea now?
Yes.
Right? Yes.